Okay, Johnny, this one's got your number on it. Let's jam.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Cinema Jam. I'm your host, Sebastian Gomez, and today I'm doing a mini jam episode about Highest to Lowest. It's a film by Spike Lee, based closely on a film by the Japanese master Akira Kurosawa. This movie has a premise that brings up one of the biggest questions anyone can answer. What is the right thing to do? What is the real cost of our dreams? And how what we do can affect those that not only live with us, our families, but all that people around us, including our workers or friends or coworkers. The movie, in the end, has a lot of social commentary, but I'm interested in talking about how they handle the topic of cancellation culture and who is canceled and why people get canceled by society, and especially how it is the influence of social media that becomes the most problematic and controversial topic in this movie. I find it fascinating, and especially because Spike Lee has been able to bring to modern times this classic movie from Akira Kurosawa from 1963, High and Low. And I don't think it was an easy task. He does a fantastic job in bringing this movie from 1963 to modern times. I do want to point out that the Kurosawa original film is loosely based on the novel King's Ransom by Ed McBain from 1959. Spike Lee is known for including powerful commentary and being able to do unique storytelling. And in this film, he delivers and offers the viewers a lot to unpack. The IMDb plot summary reads, when a titan music mogul is targeted with a ransom plot, he is jammed up in a life-or-death moral dilemma.
There's more to life than just making money. It's integrity. That's what you stand for. It's what you actually believe in.
Hey, bang!
Do you believe in yourself?
Revenge!
Do you believe you'll be successful?
Get the bang!
And the hard times will come from the good times. The hard times will come from the success. The hard times will come from the money, and the mayhem follows. So can you handle the mayhem? Can you handle the money? Can you handle the success? Can you handle the failure? Can you handle the lovers? Can you handle the memes? Can you handle everything that there is in between? That's the question I have for you.
Got to get ready!
Can you handle it?
For the big payback.
All money ain't good money.
The film stars Denzel Washington and Jeffrey Wright. And these are powerhouse performances. I actually kind of feel bad because nobody on the movie is on their level. And it's kind of a shame because everybody around them actually felt stiff. And I understand it's hard to be able to put yourself on the same level of these great performers, but the difference between their performances is just too high. I actually maybe think that ironically, the ASAP Rocky, that is a rapper, as Young Felon, that's the name of the rapper persona in the movie, and John Douglas Thompson as a detective, in Detective Bridge, are the only ones that are able to keep up with the performances of Denzel Washington and Jeffrey Wright. Of course, they don't have a lot of screen time. They're actually only a few minutes in the screen, but I believe they are the only people that were able to actually match up to these powerful performances. When I watched Highest to Lowest, the first time I watched it with my wife, at the beginning it immediately struck me at how beautiful the movie was. It actually looks amazing. It also has a great sound and a musical soundtrack that is magnificent. I mean, every Spike Lee movie normally has a great soundtrack and has a great choice of music. So that's no surprising. That is actually not surprising here. But especially the cinematography by Matthew Libatic is breathtaking, taking impressive vistas of Manhattan from the side of Brooklyn. This is where this mogul played by Denzel Washington, Mr. King, lives. So he lives in the other side of Brooklyn Bridge, not in Manhattan. So he has these beautiful vistas from his apartment with a beautiful balcony, and they use this to great effect. One of the things about, I'm going to talk about a little bit more at the end, but one of the great things about High and Low, the original movie from Akira Kurosawa, is that it has a great framing of the characters, and especially where they position them in the camera and how they look, how big they look related to other people in the camera. The changing power dynamics in that movie are very prevalent, and the cinematography here is able to do something similar. So talking about the cinematography again, it's amazing how the cinematography by Matthew Leibhacke is able to capture not just the great openness of the city, but he also captures the streets, the alleyways in a great way. It has actually a great look on how the city looks, especially during the daylight. And even there are some scenes at the end, there are some scenes in the night that are very well illuminated, and you get a clear view of what is happening in the movie, and I really admire the cinematography. So yes, we get great, beautiful shots of the city, great, beautiful shots of the streets. There is a Puerto Rican parade and festival that has a great music and great colors. There is run through a persecution through the alleyways and the streets during the day and also during the night. It's actually pretty well shot, and we get a lot of that diverse culture in the city, and I really like that. And that's something that Spike Lee always is able to bring, especially, this is a filmmaker that loves New York, and you can tell that he's able to bring a lot of that energy here. And especially, there is an interesting role of the Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, and you can tell it was shot there with a lot of fans and the people singing, and as I mentioned, the Puerto Rican Cultural Parade. So everyone gets a little time with their music, the colors, and the feeling that they bring to making New York City great. So one of the most prominent themes in Highest to Lowest is the morality of money. As the text in the poster says, all money ain't good money. And that, in addition with the other topic, that what is it that we're willing to sacrifice for money, and how social media can push up to make decisions about what people will think about us, and not about what is the right thing to do, can actually make us, go into directions that maybe we don't want to, or are actually putting us at risk. And I think Spike Lee masterfully weaves these themes throughout the narrative by telling us how can someone go from the lowest to the top of the world, or from the highest of the world to the lowest, easy. And there is an interesting thing that happens with the villain, actually, that, he goes from the lowest of the world to the highest, but he does so for the wrong reasons. And even when people do the right thing, sometimes actually the world is against them. That's something that actually can happen, that, even if you are in the highest and you do the right thing, people can actually come for you and put you at risk to lose everything. And that's another of the topics that we mentioned, that, that cancel culture is also very present and very on the nose in the movie. Let's talk a little bit about some of the aspects that I like about the movie. As I mentioned before, characters in Highest to Lowest are incredibly complex and well developed. Especially, I found Denzel Washington's journey particularly compelling. As David King, he's in the center of the controversy around the story. So in the end, for example, he does the right thing, but by doing so, he's also being pushed to the limit by the people that are supposed to be in there to help him. The dynamic between David King, Denzel Washington, and Jeffrey Wright as his chauffeur also serves as a highlight of what their wants and needs are in opposite directions. So even if they are more than an employee and employer, they are long-time friends, they can actually find themselves in a difficult situation. Despite Spike Lee directional choices are always distinctive, and I think in highest to lowest, there is no exception. The cinematography, as I mentioned, handled by Matthew Libatic, plays a crucial role in conveying the film's mood and message. And for example, the use of wide-eye vistas with the characters in the center or on the side, and the way they shift around the frame. Normally they handle, a very static camera, and I really like that. And normally are the characters that are moving inside the camera. It was actually very moving, very telling of what the feeling of the characters. So it was very impressive. I actually think the shift in power dynamics through that framing was excellent. I think I mentioned that a little bit before, but yeah, I especially like those balcony scenes with the Manhattan in the background, and inside the apartment, for example, there is a scene where Denzel Washington and Jeffrey Wright are working out of his office, and he stays like in the center, like the dominant figure, with his son in the stairs, Jeffrey Wright in the back, like a tiny Jeffrey Wright in the back with a weird angle of the camera, and everyone is centered at him, looking at him, and you can feel all the emotions that are going through in this scene, that there is no dialogue, but you could tell what was happening there. And I especially like that scene, for example. And you can tell there is a lot of inspiration of this framing from the film by Akira Kurosawa. That film is actually famous for doing that, working with the framing and the positioning of the characters around and moving the power dynamics through how close they are to the camera or how far to the camera. There are some scenes, for example, one of the characters is close to the camera to the right, and everyone is small on the left, and he actually has a lot of that. Is Spike Lee, you can tell, took a lot of inspiration for this. And there is a reason why Kurosawa has such a big influence on modern cinema. I mean, we can talk a lot about the different examples of 70s and 80s movies that were influenced by Kurosawa, but I think that deserves another discussion in the future, maybe in another podcast. Okay, so overall, highest to lowest is a film that I believe is worth watching. Too bad that not many people are going to be able to watch it in cinemas or in the movie screen. This is a co-production between Apple Studios and A24. They did a small scale release in the United States, very limited theatrical run. People, if they want to see it, the easiest way is going to be we will have to wait for September 6th. That is going to be released in Apple TV Plus. But I think a lot of people will keep thinking about the themes that the movie handles, and I hope people understand the satirical nature of some of the themes, especially like in the ending. There are a couple of interesting scenes. One of them is kind of like an hallucination, basically. I think that's actually a very direct satirical point from the side of, or a satirical commentary from Spike Lee about the nature of fame and the illusion of fame through the wrong means, basically, like someone becoming viral for the wrong reasons. There is an action-packed ending that some people might like it, especially because at the beginning, it's a movie that is very heavy dialogue-based, but there is some action at the end, so some people can wait for that. But the performances are worth it. I mean, you don't need action when you have such great performances. And this is a thriller. This is not an action movie. This is a thriller. So keep that in mind. So I highly recommend Highest to Lowest to anyone interested in thrillers, especially when you're going to have good music, good performances. As I mentioned, be prepared for a little bit of dialogue and some long stretches where there is only music, but at least, it's a good music. But I think the themes and the execution are well worth it. So give it a try. So this wraps my thoughts on Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest. As I mentioned, I also recommend the original movie by Akira Kurosawa, High and Low. And thank you for joining me on this deep dive. I encourage you, if you are able to watch the film, please send your comments. I mean, did you find it boring? Did you like the drama and the thriller aspect of the movie, the crime investigation aspect of the movie? Until next time, keep jamming about movies.